Well folks, welcome back to the workshop. Today, a wee treat for you is an Old Bosch hammer. This is the Old Bosch 1123 EVS. This one's actually out of the States, that's why it has this long number. But over here this will be a GBH5 or something like that. A very old rotary hammer. This thing's probably from the early 2000s, or maybe 1999. No actual year on her, but she's a brave age, and she looks to have done a brave amount of work. This one, customer says it's not hammering, so it might need a full service. Yeah, she's hammering or trying to hammer. She's making noise, but she's not making much force, so she's actually quite weak in the hammer. Sounds half alright, but very little force coming out of it. So this is going to need a full service. Problem is, the service kit for this machine is actually obsolete. It's been gone for some time now, so you can't actually buy a service kit for them anymore. I'm hoping I might still have one here in the workshop. Right, no, I don't have a service kit for this, and you can't get any more. So I have to see if I can make up a service kit myself with some old parts. I do have the O-rings for the piston and striker, so I'm going to have to go through everything else, see if I can get everything else individual that I need. Don't need everything that's on the service kit, but O-rings, brushes, and the oil seal up here I will need. So the main things, if I have them, should be alright. But for everything else, I'm going to have to just start stripping now and seeing if I have them. Main thing is the oil seal up here. Need to see if I have that. Looks like she's done a fair bit of work anyway. Now these ones are actually built a lot differently from the modern Bosch 5s. These ones, compared to the new ones you can just drop the piston in from the top here. If you take out the hammer pipe to put the piston into these ones, whenever you're reassembling, you actually have to take the whole head apart and take out the actual crank as well. Drop that out, put the hammer and piston in first, then drop the crank in, and then rebuild it. It's very, very awkward. We'll see what we can do here. Now, this is the main one. This oil seal, that needs to be taken out. Before I take it out, I want to make sure I have it. Of course, there's no numbers on it. This is a box of seals and needle bearings, generally Bosch ones. I think you should have that oil seal. That's it there. Yeah, right. That's the main thing, we do have that. You'll not want to lose these pins, because you'll definitely not get them replaced. Now, these O-rings sometimes mightn't be too bad, but we'll see if we have them too. The chisel, the actual tool holder, that's a good enough shape. Keyways and all are still on that. Now, the reason we want to make sure they have that sealed before working on this is because removing it does destroy it. That's just pressed on to get it out. You just have to force it. When you start working on these really old machines, generally they're going to be the most messy to work on, obviously, because they're old, well used. Even the handle full of gunk. Like the electronics here too. Looks like an 11E this. The nut down here. Now it's actually been quite a while since I worked on one of these. Brushes actually don't look too bad. Still plenty of meat in them. May reuse those. I'd replace them if we're putting in a service kit, because they'll be in the kit. But I don't have a service kit, so we might be able to keep the cost down by reusing those. Now, this is the awkward bit. There's the piston con rod up in there. And it drops onto this. There's no problem, is that there meant to be out? So that has to drop in there before you can assemble it. Just makes assembly just that little bit more difficult. Armature actually looks very good. Nothing wrong with that. That bearing's gone as well, so I'll need to change that. Now the other screws, release this head. They're down in here. This bearing here actually has a cutout off the armature on it as well, this little sleeve. And again, that bearing's not good. Now the motor in these, the feel can sometimes give trouble. They can break the contacts down in here, but obviously this one's still running, so that doesn't have this problem. We will have to give that housing a good clean. Everything needs a good clean. Even the actual gear cover up in here. How much air is getting through that thing? It's all clogged. Now this is the other one. You have to get this out. There's that bearing up in here. Actually for the rotations, what makes it tight to get out. A bit of heat in the housing helps get it out. Right, something not right inside of there. That was very difficult to get off. I'm starting to think that C-clip on here might have been broke. Unless it's just that old and tight. Get all this out anyway. And your piston. There's a bit of debris in there or something. That was just jamming that pipe up. Had to put that in the vise and hang the pipe off that there Allen key. Hang it on the vise like that and beat the aluminium housing here with a hammer to get that to shift. Finally gave then. Right, that's one of the O-rings we need to change. These are an open bearing, they never sound great, but they're still turning free enough, so that'll be alright. Then inside of here, you have a few washers. Those are your striker bolt sets. And then there's a rubber O-ring inside of there, a big heavy one, which hasn't disintegrated, so that might be alright. Normally you would remove that and put the new ones in from a service kit, but I don't have a service kit. I'm not sure if I have them, so I'll leave them on for now, because if I don't have them, I don't want to remove that spring clip, because once you remove that, you generally bend it and it'll not be able to use again, so I don't want to take it out in case it's obsolete. So for now, leave that alone. Everything else I'll get to cleaning, so all has to be scrubbed down spotless before we can rebuild it again. Doesn't matter where you start, just get stuck on. There's about 25 years of dirt built up. Clean the cap as well. Again, normally this would be in the service kit, but I ain't got a service kit. I'm not sure if I have one of these either. Reuse that. And this is actually split into two parts. This here is actually the rotation pipe. That's what gives you your boring. This is the actual hammer pipe. It sits inside the rotation pipe. So now in a modern machine, those two parts will all be one. See why it wasn't hammering anyway. All that grease is just congealed, hardened up and stuck to the bottom of the hammer, or the hammer, bottom of the gearbox. So I'd imagine there wasn't very much up on top of the piston. Might be over 20 years old. The parts still clean up nice. Right, that's it all washed out, and we have some spare parts. I'm also going to change the brushes because the other ones are not gone, but they're a little bit worn. There's not much point in doing all this here and just putting an old set of brushes on. bearing for up here. We have to see what we're going to do with this bearing. Seal for the top and the O-rings for the striker pin as well. Plus the last seal that I have. Not even sure if this is still available or not. These here are an exact fit. And they sit under this groove. If you don't have, you could put a bit of gasket filler on, or a gasket sealer. Fill that groove, leave it sticking over, and let it sit for a day or two to fully set, and then put the thing back together again. Because whenever you take out the old one, as you can see straight away, no longer fits. Everything will be too big. Swells up and expands. There's no way to get that back in again. Right, now, the next thing is this bearing for the top of the armature. Need to replace this because this is gone. Now it comes from Bosch with this insert, and it costs about 30 or 40 euro. Actually, that can come out either way, or hopefully, like I'm going to do with this one, push out the actual insert and just change the bearing itself. Works out a lot cheaper. Knock that out, and also you can press this insert out. Because inside it's just an NTN 6002 bearing. So it works out a lot cheaper just to replace the bearing. Straight away, that's 30 euro saved already, just from changing the bearing instead of the part. This here actually didn't need to come out because it was open the whole way down. That's actually just for locating this bearing. It stops it from going on too far. One bearing, then we have this wee attachment to get the other one off. It's the exact same idea of the 11E, exact same setup as the Bosch GSH11E. Just on the smaller side. Get rid of that. Press on that. And your wee O-ring on top. And this one's a 627. To press this back onto here now. Now, that's her. Time to get it back together again because this is taking way too much time. Motor section together first, and we'll build everything else on top of it. And this must be an old one because these here were replaced with little plastic covers. So these must be a right old age. So they slid onto here. This was the original design. These were removed then. Actual little plastic caps fitted over the top of this then. Now position your bearing to locate into these lugs. Slide that on. Washer on top of this spindle, and on the clutch there's also a washer on that. Then you've got 4 needle bearings, 2 wider ones, 2 narrower ones. The narrow ones fit down in this hole. 2 wider ones in, which are the same size, fits onto the spindle. The 2 narrow ones are actually 2 different sizes, and the big one goes to the bottom. Doesn't matter too much, but that's generally the way it goes. Before you fit your clutch, you're going to put on this wee lifter plate. That's what's actually lifting up your clutch to engage and disengage your rotation. That's just been selected. These here springs. So that sits in there. Your clutch just sits on top. And so that can just sit for now. So we're ready for it. Now we want to get O-rings and everything. So that's the number for the piston and the striker, or the hammer. Plenty of grease on them. And then also striker bolt. That's the number there if you ever need the striker bolt one. These might be gone though, I'm not sure. Those are all old stock I have. bit of grease just to get everything ready. Don't want anything starting up dry. Like this. This will have to go on with a hammer pipe. They'll go on together. That's for later, and that's for later. Right, see if I can remember how to do this now. So this is the awkward bit. That's for after. Now this is the shims. Just leave the shims there. That's to pack it out to give the gear teeth the right gap between this here bevel and the one on top of the clutch. Everything a good lick of grease. That's going on there. Then your hammer. Then your piston. Keep your piston sticking out. And you have a small washer and the spring. Now, make sure I'm right. This boy here, that's what I'm forgetting. This also has to go on. That's going to be sitting there. That goes on first. And that there has to drop on along with this. Yeah, that's right. So this goes on. Hold this in place. Where the spring goes onto this plastic ring. That should all push down as long as this gear doesn't come out, which of course it does. Very awkward to get that on. Hold this gear up as you're trying to hold this up at the same time. Get this clip on. Make sure it doesn't come out again. Lastly, you can knock on this oil seal. It's tight now because I had so much bother getting this pipe out to begin with. Right, that is top assembly ready. Next, it's the next awkward bit. This boy sits here. You have to drop this crank down onto the piston and into the hole. And obviously if you miss the hole and you finish assembling, whenever you run the machine you'll just smash up the piston conrod. But you know you're in whenever you actually rotate it. And you can see the piston coming up and down. So that's correct. A little grease on there and in there, a little extra down on there. Now, the oil ring on, the oil seal. Make sure it's in all the way around, it's not kinked. Otherwise it will leak. Now, the grease that goes into this, you're probably always wondering and asking. I keep using this yellow grease for initial setup on all hammers, and then using the different whiter grease then whenever actually putting the grease on. People are always asking, why do I use two different types of grease? Why do I use this? This is actually the correct grease for this hammer. There's the Bosch number there, 001. 100 ml of that grease into this. This is a very thick grease. This is only one designed to actually take it. Very, very viscous for a hammer. It's hard to get it moving around, and it's a strain on the motor if you use it in any other machines. But this one was designed to take this grease. All the rest are taking the 015 grease, which is another type of Bosch hammer grease. That is a lot lighter, easier to move around. Plus it's better for the gears, because it doesn't just get thrown to the side and stick. This one, there's that much in it, it'll be sitting down on the gears. Whenever you're actually using it upside down then, hammering down, that's when it gets on all the piston and everything up in here. So that is the grease I'm going to be using here. You'll never see me using only this here in any other hammer basically, apart from these old Bosch ones. I've already used 50 ml of this, building it. This is another 60 ml going on. If you were to put that in any other machine, as soon as you switch it on, you would be hearing it struggle to run. Now, this onto here is another awkward bit, because you have to hold on to this gear, because whenever you turn it upside down, that's just going to drop out. Then you have to locate the selector into this little pickle fork here. This ain't easy, so take your time. And whenever you're putting it on, if the gear gets away from you and actually drops out, you're going to have to redo this top bit again. Take this here seal out, or you can leave the seal till after, it's safer. Take out the C-clip and actually pull out the hammer pipe again, relocate the gear onto the piston and try a second time. That's nice when you get it in one go. still actually have a fresh felt sleeve for this as well, which is a nice wee bonus. Put that on. Better leave that to the end actually. And then, just in case you're thinking I'm forgetting something, the actual hammer bolt goes on last. So that goes onto your tool holder, which then goes onto your hammer pipe. So the piston's going up and down. It's creating suction, pressure, and throwing that weighted hammer back and forth. That weighted hammer is actually what's hitting this here striker bolt, which is free to move up and down, and that's what's actually hitting your chisel. Don't put too much grease in these holes, because you also have to get the pins back in. You need a little bit of grease on them, just to help keep them in as you're rotating it. But if you put on too much grease, they'll not go the full way in, and you'll not get the sleeve back over the top. This change lever has to go in between these here coil springs. Line it up, push in the button, just push it on. Get your wiring and all back in then. Speed controller and your switch, all one unit. Reconnect your spades. Wire's just tucked down there. Handles all cleaned out as well. These Old Bosch handles actually came in two parts, the trigger and the handle. Nearly there. This is just an odd sight, this one. You're not going to see many of these hammers coming in now, especially American ones over here. Like I say, it's the same as the GBH here, GBH5, or I think 438. Just the different number here, that's all. That's her Old Bosch 11230 EVS, a rotary Bosch hammer, full service, drop down and repair. Or if you're over here, a GBH 5 DCE, the old version. Hopefully now, hammering correctly. Sounds a lot better already. Now, see what your hammer's like. So, just like any hammer, if it's hammering right, it should be able to lift itself off with the hammer. Perfect. That's what you want her to be doing. That's her, fully serviced and running right, ready to go, ready for another 20 years of work. Now, folks, that could be the last time you ever see one of these machines on this channel, because like I say, most of the bits are just now obsolete. I still have some parts here, actually still have some housing covers and handles and all, but the service kit's gone, some of the other parts are going to be gone too. So limited time you're ever going to get these here in for repair now. But of course, me saying that now, what do you see tomorrow? Will be one landing on the door. But they're fairly rare to get now anyway. It's been a while since I had one of them in, especially having to do a full service on it. But that is how you do a full service on one of these machines if you ever have one, or need to get it up and running again. Now if you don't want to go to the bother of putting a full service on it, maybe it's just not really worth it. Motor's giving you trouble, not running right, sounding a wee bit rough. If the hammer's just going weak, or you're not getting any hammer at all, what you can do is just pop off that there cover, put the screwdriver in behind when it's in hammer mode, pop it up, and then get a syringe full of Bosch grease, either the lighter stuff or the heavier stuff, doesn't really matter, and pump about 50 ml into there. Once in, put your lever back on again and run it for a minute or so, see if the hammer picks up again. Sometimes all you might need is a wee top up of grease, lighter stuff instead of the heavier stuff if possible, whenever you're doing a top up like that. But apart from that, if that doesn't work, you're onto a full service like this. Anyway folks, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed it. Give us a wee like and a follow down below if you're liking the videos, and don't forget to hit the share button as well. Cheers, chat to you later.